Next slide. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go.
Hey everybody, this is Eric Porter with Chris Martich. Welcome to the next episode of Let's Jam. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Getting ready to advance the almond. I'm advancing the almond bet shows right now. So,
Oh,
Family
nice.
Revival, East
Okay,
Coast tour, West Coast tour.
very cool.
Yeah,
Um, so what we wanted to talk about today, we've gone through a lot of the history. This kind of brings us to, I guess, Chris, for lack of a better term, bringing us into the modern era of the jam bands with the Wetlands Preserve, which I think a lot of people just referred to as the Wetlands. This was a club in New York City. I believe Larry Block was the owner and created this nightclub, uh, Tribeca area of New York City, I believe. 1989 was when it opened.
correct.
Uh, and this was a big venue for the jam bands. I mean, this kind of brought in a lot of the East Coast bands. We're gonna Chris is going to go through a slideshow. We're going to talk about a number of bands that played here, but really, this was kind of the renaissance after the Dead. You know, fans of Fish. I went to school way upstate New York, so we knew about Fish before Fish was popular. Obviously, Fish was one of the bands here. But Chris, you again with your touring experience, I know you've been to this club a number of times.
Right,
Club was around, I think, for what about 12 years? Switched owners in 1997 to a guy named
correct.
Peter Shapiro, and then, ironically enough, closed on September 10th of 2001, uh, just a day prior to September 11th, which we all remember. So the club had a good run, great history to it. Chris is going to walk you through his slideshows with a lot of the bands and information. So, Chris, I'm going to turn over to you and let's get started on this one.
Okay, so that there's the wetlands. There's their logo, and as this building with the loading ramp, you can see that's down. That was down in Tribeca, which at that time was a commercial zone. It wasn't like as much of like uptown New York would be, residential.
Okay.
So it was a great place to have a club. You could have people outside making noise all night or whatever. And then it used to be storage for stuff for Chinese restaurants, like, like the cardboard boxes and bags, and it was
Oh,
like a warehouse.
okay.
And this guy ended up finding it and converting it into this unique nightclub. Uh, the other thing is he was into activism. Okay, so and a lot of people in New York City are activists, right? Especially back then. And so he had a special area that activists could post stuff on the wall and have meetings. So he gave the club during the day to the activists, like, trying to save the whales or Greenpeace or abused wives or whatever it may have been, could come there and use the club.
Okay.
So he kind of had this groovy sort of concept about it, you know what I mean? So there he is right there, Larry Block, and
Okay.
he's the original guy in 1989. Now he hawked his house, supposedly, according to this documentary, and he ended up, had this idea. Now he's a deadhead, okay, and so he wanted, and he probably had seen Fish because they'd been around, and Blues Traveler, and he said, I'm going to make a club for these bands to play in, these deadhead type bands, and their dream was to have the Grateful Dead play there, of course. That was
Sure.
the Deadhead dream, right? So as
Exactly.
you can see, everybody's partying, and it was home of many tribes. Okay, so we get the next slide here. And that's Pete Shapiro, who took over in 97. And we'll get into him at the end of the show. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So, okay. So here is the wetlands in the right there. And you can see the hippie mural on the back wall. It was like, uh, green grass and, hippies picnicking on the lawn and dancing, all drawn in like a cartoon kind of animation look. Then they had the bus in the front, and the bus you could go buy things out of. It was like a little sales place,
Oh, cool. Cool.
merchandise and drinks and stuff like that. And then and food. And then this band new potato caboose was, and there they are in the gray there, in white, black and white shine. They were their opening band that played there in 1989.
Okay.
But Blues Traveler, see the poster with Blues Traveler, and when
Yes.
there's Popper, he looks really young in that picture.
Yep.
He uh, he ended up playing there for. I want to make. Is this toolbar in your way? Maybe I should get rid of that.
Yeah, if
Hold
you can
on.
get it out of there, it's fine.
I
That'll
didn't realize it was there. Sorry. I'm going to
no
dump
problem.
that. There it is. Okay. Sorry about that. So, okay. So Pop, they ended up playing there 16 times that first year. So
Wow.
they are the house band
Sure.
and they just couldn't play that first show. So the Potato Caboose ended up playing there. Anyway, so that's the history. Now we're going to go to the next shot here. Let me get down here. Now I got to get my cursor back. Okay, here we go. Uh, so it is this one. So there's the bus once it was painted. There's when you walked right in, this is what you saw. There's a little booth on the left. There's where the, check your ID place. And then
Okay.
there's the bus and it was all painted. And this guy is called Tim Vega. And he was the guy who painted all those crazy walls in there with all the kind of graffiti type psychedelic looking painting. And he traveled with Blues Traveler when I first met him, and his sister is Suzanne Vega.
Ah, yes, the folky
Yeah,
folk singer,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and so he was kind of a fixture there. Is the resident artist.
Sure.
So okay, so I'm going to get into my story a little bit and how it involves. So in 1989, we work in the Brotherhood of Light. I was playing clubs in San Francisco called the Paradise Lounge and the I-Beam. But the Paradise Lounge was kind of like a Wetlands,
Okay.
similar type club, alternative, different types of jam music. And we used to do a Monday night Deadhead with David Gans. Uh, he's a radio broadcaster guy, the Deadhead Hour
Okay.
back then. And he had a band. He's kind of a famous radio personality with Grateful Dead Hour show that he did for years. And he had a band called, we used to do once a month with him. And so December, December 31st, Blues Traveler came out and played and opened up for Leonard Skinner at the Cow Palace. The next day or two, we met up with them at Paradise and we started doing shows whenever they came to San Francisco. The house band from the Wetlands would hire the Brotherhood of Light to do light shows with them.
Cool.
So we did a couple shows, and then within the next 6 months, then they went on tour with the Allman Brothers, and they hooked us up directly through this guy Al Crabtree, who was worked for us and them, and we got the gig with the Allman Brothers. So now we're on tour in 1990, and the Blues Traveler, we're on the East Coast, is opening up for the Allman Brothers, and we're doing the light show and with the Allman Brothers. So, and we continue to do this for the next 4 years, do spot touring with these guys. So, here we go. I'm trying to make this quick here. So in 1990, yeah, we provided the light show with the Allman Brothers. So we're up. It's 92 now, just in March, and we're up at the Orpheum Theater, and we shoot this album cover, and the band is recording a live album, the Allman Brothers, and the guy on the right next to Butch Trucks, the second guy, that's Tom Doucette, and he'll come in later in the slideshow. So I set up this photo shoot with Kirk West. So here is the Beacon. It's sold out show, and that's an available live disc you can buy from the Beacon in '92. And that particular night, we finished the show. It was our first 10-day run at the Beacon Theater, and we went back to the hotel, and they said, "Oh, you all gonna go to the Wetlands." So we walk up to the hotel and there's this giant limousine. I mean, it's like a triple stretch limousine, right? And we're all like, oh, look at that arrogant, car, right? I mean, you think of limousines as like kids on their frat party or whatever, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so we go back down in 15 minutes, the band to meet our ride. And it ends up being that limousine is our ride.
Funny.
And there I am at the limousine. See it?
All right. Nice.
And so then we got in, and there's Warren Haynes and Kirk West, myself, Bud Snyder, the sound engineer, Ellen Woody, Susan Woody, and one of the recording engineers that recorded the album from uh, from the Beacon. And there's the tickets.
Cool. I see the tickets down there too. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
and the Orpheum and the Beacon. So I just pulled that out of my scrapbook, but I thought it was great. I had a picture of that limousine. But can you imagine this is like this, eco nightclub. It sends a, stretch limo to pick us up.
Not
It's
bad.
pretty funny actually. Okay, so let's get into the shows. Okay, here we go. Check out, guess who these guys are? I'm sure you know who they are.
All right. Got
Um,
some fish in there.
yeah, and the Spin
Spin
Doctors.
doctors. Yep.
Okay, now the Spin Doctors and Blues Traveler were local New York area guys. So they were the two bands that played there the most.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a really young fish. They came down and they would do, probably once or twice a month or whatever, once every 2 months, play there, along with Blues Traveler. I mean, Widespread Panic would also come up from Atlanta or
Cool.
Athens, Georgia. And so the guy playing harmonica with Blues Traveler there,
Yep.
and they have the record for doing 30, they played there 39
39.
times in
Okay.
4 years, okay,
Is it
at the Wetlands.
Bruce
Uh,
Willis?
that's that's Doucette from the
Oh,
Allman
Doucette.
Brothers.
Okay. It was hard to see the picture.
Yeah, so that what happened that night was we got there and that new potato caboose was playing the first night we got there. Not this picture. And I went there and it went, and it was just had this weird kind of low ceiling and these strange sight lines, but kind of dipped down dance floor and small stage with the picture of a swamp and a wetlands behind the stage painted on the wall.
Yep.
And then they had downstairs, you'd go down the stairs and they had like this chill out room with like stereo speakers. And they ended up like, that's where everybody would smoke weed back then before it got, shut down by Giuliani. Eventually he got rid of that. But Giuliani was the mayor back then. And, but anyway, I'm sitting in that room and I'm just like, oh my God, they've made a nightclub for us in New York. And it was like when I was doing shows back in California, one of the guys, one of the promoters told me about the Wetlands. He read it in like New York Magazine or something.
Okay.
I mean, so it made it all the way to the West Coast, that the Wetlands was the place in New York.
Chris, do you
And
know
there
what
was
the
just something
capacity
special
was?
about it. What?
Do you know what the capacity was of the venue?
Uh, 600.
600? Okay.
Yeah. And, but it said it was like 350 or something.
Okay.
But they actually figured out they could get 600 people in there. And like they said, if it was a government mule, it was 400. But if it was a punk band, they could get 600 kids in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I hear
The
you.
different size of the people, right? Uh, so anyway, then later on, like a week later, or something like that, in that 10-day run, 2 weeks we were in the Beacon, we went back to the Wetlands and they thought, and Blues Traveler was playing and they thought Greg was going to show up and they had John Ginty's keyboard, his Hammond B there. But Greg never showed up.
No, Greg.
But
Okay.
Doucette did play and he told me, he's a harmonica player, he's like a blues. He was on the original Allman Brothers albums, right? And live album and stuff. And he told me that Popper had these weird harmonicas that were like super high pitch. So he could hardly compete with the guy because he had some strangely tuned harmonicas. And that's why Popper has that extreme sound when he
Okay.
plays, you know. So
Makes
that
sense.
was that was kind of an insight he gave me. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Here we go. You know who that is, right?
Oh, is that Derek Trucks?
Yeah, it's
Jeff,
Derek Trucks, like
Jeff Buckley? Okay.
like
Very cool.
11-year-old Derek Trucks or something.
Cool.
You know, look how small he is.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Just a kid.
and then Jeff Buckley played there. So, you know, they had some notable guys that played there that
I
were
guess
on their,
so.
on their way up. You know what I mean? Okay, let's do the next one. All right, there we go. Now, maybe not loved by Sea of Tranquility, but Pearl Jam, you know, they played there.
Okay.
Did you know that? Did you know
I
that
did
Pearl Jam
not.
played
I
there?
guess I wouldn't have guessed they would have played a venue like that, but you're playing in the city, so you got to play
Well,
somewhere. Big club, right?
it's 90. They haven't made the big grunge album until 91 or
Okay.
92, right?
Yep.
So they're just, a band trying to make it.
Sure.
And they're all got flannel shirts and long hair. They're like a hippie band, really, when you think about it. I mean, look at them, the way they're
Yeah.
dressed and stuff. So, okay, now here's another group of bands here. Okay, we got Dave Matthews, the unknown Dave Matthews, and then Widespread Panic on the right
Cool.
with the original guitar player, and then the Aquarium Rescue Unit up top there with Jimmy Herring on the right. You see him
Yeah,
up
Jimmy's
there with the
great.
long hair.
Great player.
Yeah, yeah, and O'Teal in the back.
Yep.
So, yeah, anyway,
And
so
the
there's the
Colonel.
Dave, yeah, and the Colonel, right? The Colonel is cool, man. If for the people that don't know, the Colonel was like he was around back in the 69 era, 68 era, and he was like the Frank Zappa of Atlanta. And he plays this, if you think of Frank Zappa's music, the dissident, jammy jazz
Yeah.
stuff, that's what Colonel did. And now he's got two of the main players. One guy is playing in Dead and Company, and the other guy's in Widespread Panic. We're in his band, so he's like Zappa. He brings guys up.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to get to the collage page, and you got that list
I
handy?
do, because we're going to do a run through of a bunch of the
Yeah,
bands that have played at
yeah,
the Wetlands. We had Disco Biscuits. We've talked about Blues Traveler, Spin Doctors, Fish, Dave Matthews, Oasis. That's kind of a surprise to me. Ween, Maroon 5. We saw Pearl Jam, Widespread Panic, Tragically Hip, String Cheese Incident,
yep.
Joan Osborne, 311. Another one, I guess. But I guess it had to be a good mix, Chris.
Right. They're all young at this point.
Right, young bands coming up, 311, Rage Against the Machine, Wallflowers, Counting Crows, Getting Back, Government Mule, Allman Brothers Band, Cypress Hill, The Roots, Robert Randolph, love Robert Randolph, and the Family Band. Jeff Buckley, we brought up.
Uh-huh.
Um, what do we got? Paul Kantner, Yonder Mountain String Band, Jorma Kaukonen, Paul Kelly, and Bob Weir, and Sublime are a bunch of the bands that have played there.
Absolutely. So that's quite a list.
That is that's incredible.
And then, okay, so the first slide, they did 3,600 bands played there over
Wow.
that
Okay.
11 and a half year period. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we got now another band that played there a lot was Max Creek.
Hmm.
And they were like a Grateful Dead East Coast band from 1972.
Yeah,
And
they
they're,
used to play in my area a lot, Chris.
yeah, right. They're from up there, the Northeast.
Yep,
And so it was Spin Doctors and Max Creek and God Street Wine. You see
that's another
them?
one. I
They
actually think,
played there a lot too. I
yeah,
mean, I looked all these up on Setlist FM.
yep,
But the two bands that played the most were Traveler and Spin Doctors. But
okay,
these other two bands that I just mentioned, they played there a lot too. And Hootie and the Blowfish played there. There they
that's
are,
pretty funny.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
But they did a show with us. They opened up for us back in '94. And there's Dr. John and Annie DeFranco, and that's Yorma down there on the bottom on the
yep,
left.
okay,
So, okay.
cool
So
shot.
now we're going to get into here. Okay. So this is now a little bit later when in 97 they started like putting more alternative stuff in there in between the jam and this picture of Greg playing there on that really rickety keyboard.
Yep,
um, we did a show at Meadowlands in the parking lot, okay, of the football stadium, you know
okay,
and it was like super windy, and Warren got caught in traffic coming up from Merriweather, and he was late for the show. It was kind of a weird show. And it kind of ended early. It was an early show it was light out, and it finally got dark at the very end of it. So Greg and Woody and Warren went over, and that's the one night he played at the Wetlands. I
nice.
looked that up.
That's
So
cool.
after his show with the Allman Brothers, he went over and played at the Wetlands because they were staying in probably a hotel somewhere in the city uh, on that tour. So, So you can see there's all these weird, all, Switchblade Symphony and these other bands. So let's kind of move. Well, okay. So what happened was they would have a Sunday night, like thrash kind of punk bands. So all
Okay.
these kids would show up, these underage kids, because it was all age club.
Yep.
And they would do like, thrash, slam dancing and, agnostic front type stuff. So they'd have that. And then they'd also, or that might have been like on Saturday night or Monday night. And then they also had a all black singer night where all female black singers would come in and play. So when Shapiro took over, he changed it a little bit, and tried to do some alternative stuff. So here's Shapiro page.
Yep.
Okay. And there he is with Derek and O'Teal. And there he is hanging out with all his buddies. I don't know if those guys work there, but he's in the middle. You can see
Okay.
them.
Yep.
And okay, so his story is that you see that poster tie-dye?
Yep.
Okay, in 94, he ended up going on tour with the Grateful Dead with a film company and filming the parking lot because the Dead would not let you film the band and use their music. So he just filmed all the Deadheads. And in 95, when he finally finished the film and he went to the Sundance, I think in 96, he went to Sundance to show it. Jerry had just died and he got a big contract, like a distributing deal on the movie because it was the only Grateful Dead thing that was out there. And
Okay.
Jerry just died. It was big news, right?
Sure.
So I had met him uh, right after that, and he told me he did tie dye and all that, and he ended up buying the Wetlands from Block and from Larry Block, and he just bought it for the cost of the equipment.
Wow.
He didn't like get any extra money for it. He just because I think Block was burnt out from partying and
Probably.
running a nightclub for 8 years.
Yeah.
In New York City, staying up all night. I mean, that'd kill anybody, right? So Shapiro took over. Now, Shapiro's got a pretty amazing history, which I'll get into at the very end here. Okay, so here's some of the other shows that happened there, and these are albums. So the Robert Randolph
Yep.
band. Okay, now the keyboardist on the left-hand corner is our keyboardist, John Ginty, for Allman Betts.
Nice.
So, and he was in the family band. And they recorded that album, and he's in that picture on the top left. And then Jeff Buckley live at Wetlands, and then there's a Dave Matthews live tracks. So those, I think Oasis they got some kind of bootleg out on them. So these are all albums that were recorded there or
Cool.
put out. So pretty amazing. You know, it's got a lot of history.
Yeah. The history.
Yeah. All right. So now this is a book that is you can buy right here.
Okay.
I don't know if it's available still, but it was at least and still on the internet. And so it has you could maybe try buying it. There's a wetlandshistory.com, free shipping, US free shipping. So I don't know if it's available, but that's a book that has a whole story. Now there's also a documentary that Shapiro put out that's pretty cool. I got a lot of this information from that documentary.
Okay.
If you go on YouTube, you can hit Wetlands documentary. And there's the bus. Now that bus ended up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
That's cool.
that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so Shapiro is an interesting character. So he buys the Wetlands. So the last show at the Wetlands is he's going to have Bob Weir and Rat Dog, but he also had Bob Weir play with the Hansons. You know who the Hansons are?
Off the top of my head, no.
They do this song called Bebop. It was a
Okay.
hit. They were like young little uh, boppers. And he puts them together with Bob Weir. They're backing Bob Weir up, kind of like Chuck Berry would come in and play with Bruce Springsteen or whatever. So he plays the Hansons, but they're supposed to have Rat Dog, and that was on 9/11. Well, they canceled it. So on 9/13, Robert Hunter, the guy who writes all the music for the Grateful Dead,
Oh, he was the
did a
lyricist, right?
private show there.
Okay.
And on those notes, there's also the last show. Do you see it? It was with Warren Haynes
Yes.
and Stanley Jordan. Do you
Yep.
see that on the notes?
I do.
Why don't you read that off to the audience?
Oh, about the last show.
Yeah.
So that was September. What did we say? September 10th
Yeah.
was Warren Haynes, Mike Gordon, DJ Logic, and Stanley Jordan played that last show.
Right. That's a pretty cool jam.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
Stanley and
Gordon
Warren
was
together
from
would be very
Fish.
interesting.
Yeah. Stanley Jordan played with Santana and a lot of jazz guys, fusion guys.
Yep.
Warren, of course, the Allman Brothers, Government Mule. All right. So there's the wetlands history. There's another visual you can get right there on the top left. So, okay, so what Shapiro does is he goes and buys the Brooklyn Bowl and he puts together a venue there, which is a famous New York venue. And they also have one in Las Vegas. And then he also buys the Capitol Theater in Port Chester,
Oh, cool. Okay.
which is up there on the top with all the Grateful Dead logos. And he
Yep.
put projectors in and projects all over the side walls. And we're doing a show there coming up
Nice.
uh, this in December. And then he also was involved because he got involved with Phil Lesh, helped managing him, and he did the Fare Thee Well Grateful Dead reunion gig, where they
Okay.
did two shows in San Francisco and Santa Clara at
Yep.
the Levi Stadium, and then they did the three shows at the Chicago Soldier Field. And that's a picture of it right there. I did a bunch of video for that. I was involved with it. And so Shapiro, and he also did the Lock-In Festival. So he moved on and became a major promoter, really, you know. Now I think he comes from some kind of New York money. So
Could
anyway,
be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, he does. I looked him up. He's got a pretty, but I don't know. I mean, he might have made it on his own with that tie dye. Who knows?
Right.
Anyway, but I knew him. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. So he's a really cool dude. And he loves to put bands together and do jam band shows. So he's like the jam band promoter, you know.
Awesome.
He'd be a good guy to have on
Well,
sometime.
let's see if we can get him sometime just to tell some
Yeah.
stories. Would be great, right?
Yeah. Hopefully if I see him when I go to do the Capitol, uh, I'll ask him
So,
if
Chris,
he's
you
there.
mentioned you're going out on tour in December. What do you got lined up for
Oh,
that?
okay. I'll try to go really fast on it. Do you want to go back to the two of us?
Sure.
Okay, because it's the last slide.
Yeah, just give us kind of a update where you're
Okay.
at, who you're out on the road
Okay, I
with.
guess I'm on the screen with you somewhere.
Yes, we're up. We're up.
Okay, so we're starting in St. Louis. We're going to Chicago. Then we're going to the Pittsburgh area, Greenburgh,
This is
then
Almond Bats, you said,
Buffalo,
right?
Buffalo, and then we're going to Connecticut. Then we're going to the Capitol, then the Beacon Theater, then the Paramount in Long Island. Then we're going down to Capital One Theater in Tyson, Virginia, which is DC area.
Okay.
Then we're heading down to Atlanta to the Symphony Hall. Then we're going to do Ruth Edgar in Florida and Sunrise Theater in Florida. Then we're heading out to Texas. We're going to do San Antonio, Lubbock, and Austin City Limits. Then we go to the Orpheum in uh, in LA, and
Cool.
then we end at the Fillmore in San Francisco, my hometown venue.
Love
So
it. Awesome.
yeah, yeah, pretty
That was
awesome
very
tour.
cool. I wish I had made it to the wetlands. I was young and poor at the time, didn't venture into the city all that much, so I never got to see a show there. But a lot of those bands you mentioned, Max Creek, I'm gonna see Pods are still around. I think they play around. Um, can't remember one
God
of the other
Street,
ones.
God
Uh,
Street Wine.
God Street Wine all played in my area, played our colleges, so definitely got to see a
Right.
lot of those bands up here anyway. So very
Right.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Chris. I enjoyed that. That was really cool. And I know that's going to kind of bring us to, Chris has gone through and done a ton of history on 60s and 70s. This brings us into more of the modern era. So we are going to move on. We've been talking about revisiting, doing a show specifically on the Allman Brothers and Chris's experiences on the road with them. So we definitely have more coming up for you on Let's Jam over the course of the next few months. So Chris, enjoy the tour. Report back, check in with me if you can at some point, and
Yeah, we got one
we'll
show coming up. I've built similar slideshow for the Horde Festival.
cool. Definitely get that one on
And
the
then
books.
it launches these bands that we saw here playing in the clubs, especially Widespread Fish and Dave Matthews and the Allman Brothers and everybody. It launches them into the next level, which will be where they are now, playing the sheds and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So, so I'm looking forward to doing that show with you coming up whenever that
Definitely.
may be. And then that big Allman Brothers show I want to do is the Allman Brother family,
Yeah.
which,
And
like Marshall Tucker, Wet Willie, all that kind of.
we'll try to get Mr. Pardo to join us on one of those
Yeah,
as well.
that'd be
I know
great, man.
he'd love to do
Uh,
some talking on the Allman
all
Brothers as well.
right. So it looks like we're running a good time here.
Yeah, I think we're all good. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching and make sure to check out some of the previous episodes. There's a lot of good information out there, kind of building the history for you guys. And we're going to get to the modern bands, the bands that are out there now, but it's a good way to start at the ground level and learn about the scene and go from there. So make sure to visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn
All
time.
damn time.
Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out all the links below. Leave comments. We'd love to hear your comments on the shows, any suggestions you have. And Chris, thank you very much. Enjoy the tour, and we'll be back with Let's Jam in December for something, and then Chris will be back. We'll get that Allman Brothers show and the Horde Festival show is on the books. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to be gone pretty much the whole month of December, so
All right.
we'll schedule it sometime. All
Definitely.
right.
We'll get something up there. So for
Okay.
Chris Samardich and myself, Eric Porter, thanks for watching and make
Right
sure to
on.
tune in next time on Let's Jam. Take
Signing
care,
off.
everybody.